He was rumoured to have a 4.09 40-yard time. At 50 years old, he clocked a 4.43. Darrell Green didn't just defy the aging curve, he outran it. But he wasn't just fast. He became one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history. So how did a 5'9", Division II underdog who tucked Tootsie Rolls in his socks become an NFL legend? What are you saying, guys? It's Zane here. Let's get into the video. Darrell Green wasn't supposed to make it. He was recruited to a D2 college by accident. Some coaches had come to see one of his teammates. Green was 5'9" and weighed 184 pounds when he was drafted. He'd have to face receivers who stood half a foot taller and weighed at least 30 pounds more. To make it even harder for the guy, he was drafted 28th overall in 1983 by the Washington Redskins. They had just won the Super Bowl. So you have a Division II athlete who's trying to fight for a roster spot on a Super Bowl team. It didn't help that his own defensive coach doubted him. But Green wouldn't need any time to develop. The first time he touched the ball, during a preseason game, he returned a punt for 61 yards. He then get nationwide attention during the season opener when the Redskins faced the Cowboys. Tony Dorsett took a handoff and broke loose on what looked like a sure touchdown. The man was fast, he had a 4.3 40-yard time. But Darrell Green, who ran a 10.08 100-meter time, which would have got him silver in the '84 Olympics by the way, was about to announce his presence to the NFL. Just as Dorsett was clearing the last Redskins defender, Green came sprinting from the opposite side of the field, caught Dorsett from behind like a heat-seeking missile, and dragged him down short of the end zone. Green would go on to build a highlight reel of iconic chase downs. As a player would break free, the fans were thinking, he's off, no one's going to catch him. But seconds later, they'd be yelling, where did he come from? How the heck did Green just catch up with him? Green reportedly ran a 4.09 40-yard dash during a 1986 training camp. That would be the fastest in NFL history. Now, whether that time is actually accurate or not isn't too important. What's clear is that in his prime, he was as fast as anyone to ever play in the NFL. But this speed wasn't just good genetics. He had a secret weapon, a pre-game Tootsie Roll, and one tucked into his sock in case he needed an extra boost during game time. After breaking out his first game, he kept soaring. He established himself as one of the league's best corners and maintained that for 20 years. He entered the league as the fastest man, and almost 20 years later, he'd retire at the age of 42 and still be the fastest man. The guy ran a 4.4 at 50. But the NFL has seen many fast players. Speed alone doesn't make you a Hall of Famer. The so-called ageless wonder displayed longevity and consistency like very few in NFL history. He'd retire with the most games played by a defender, and he set the record for most seasons with an interception, having at least one every year from 1983 till 2001. While most players start to decline in their mid-30s, Green continued to be one of the top defenders into his 40s, recording his final interception at 41, which made him the oldest player to ever intercept a pass. As an ESPN article put it, he's so old, he covered two different Cowboy 88s, Drew Pearson and Michael Irvin. As Green got older, the Redskins would draft a lot of cornerbacks, as they were expecting him to slowly decline. Father time comes for us all, but Green fought it off longer than most. In 1997, at the ripe old age of 37, he showed the Redskins they didn't need to worry about replacing him just yet. In a Week 17 matchup against the Eagles, he intercepted a pass at the Redskins' 17-yard line. Then he proceeded to return it for an 83-yard pick six. That was the longest return of his career. Age couldn't slow him down, and neither could injuries. During a divisional playoff matchup against the Bears, he returned a punt for a 52-yard game-winning touchdown. But on the return, he suffered a rib injury. Despite being in intense pain, he clutched his side and just kept running. I think that play encapsulates his career so well. It showcases his speed, his agility, his vision, and mental toughness. At his height and size, he was told he was too small, that he couldn't play corner. To filter out all that doubt requires a certain level of mental toughness. Despite standing at 5'9", Green was excellent at disrupting receivers at the line of scrimmage. Jerry Rice cites him and Deion Sanders as the best defensive backs to guard him, saying he was very physical at the line of scrimmage. What's even more impressive, at his size, was that he wasn't getting manhandled by people bigger than him. Here's Green body slamming Rice, who had half a foot and 20 pounds on him. But this might be the highest compliment. All other receivers measured their talent based on how well they played against Green. As Michael Irvin would say, he was the man by which we all measured ourselves. If you could have a great game against Darrell Green, it meant you were there. He had the reflexes, footwork, and acceleration to mirror receivers step for step. That made his coverage very tight, and quarterbacks learned to just avoid him when they could. But when they did choose to throw his way, they paid dearly. His football instincts were showcased in the 1987 NFC Championship game. It was late in the fourth quarter. The Redskins had a 17-10 lead against the Vikings. It was fourth down at the goal line. Quarterback Wade Wilson snaps the ball and is looking for Darren Nelson. Green sees this, he breaks free of his man and sprints towards Nelson, making contact with him just as the ball reaches him. That jarred the ball loose and prevented the completion, forcing a turnover on downs. Again, that would be the game-winning play. The Redskins won that game and then carried the momentum to a Super Bowl victory over the Broncos. Green had a nose for the ball. He had 3 seasons with at least 5 interceptions and retired with a franchise record 54. Although he decided to hang it up in 2002, he showed he still had it in his final game. On this play, Champ Bailey fields the punt, then hands it off to Green on a reverse. In that moment, it feels like we're teleported back to 1983 on Green's Green's first play, a 61-yard punt return. He sprints up the sideline, but he gets pushed out at the 45-yard line. He didn't score, but he left the game as one of the greatest cornerbacks ever and still the fastest. When we talk about Darrell Green's career, the first thing that gets mentioned is his legendary speed, and rightly so. Boy was he fast. But what makes him an all-time great cornerback is everything else. The elite coverage, the instincts, the tackling, and his insane durability.